welcome to episode 5 of Bikini Besties podcast. I'm Lolo, Lauren Kralovec, and I'm here with my besties.
Kaylia Rhodes.
Stephanie Warden.
And today we're going to talk about, I think we named it Where You Find. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about what we named it.
Oh, we're so professional. When you find yourself in a pickle.
Yes.
In a prep pickle.
In a prep pickle. I
In
like
a
that.
prep pickle. Exactly. Just kind of we wanted to share some of our experiences and some experiences that some of our listeners and viewers have shared with us about prep and when they are like situations that they kind of questioned or were maybe not the best situation for prep.
Yeah.
Because it has happened to a lot of us. And so I think when we share stories, we're like, oh my God, that happened to me too. Or I can't believe that happened.
Or I've heard that. Or like,
Yeah. So thanks for submitting. We really love all of the feedback and just letting us know so we can help.
And per usual, we'll kind of start with a quick update. I don't think many of us have big prep updates this time, but Kaylee, you want to start with what's going on with you?
I am down 2 pounds. We're back to,
Woo.
I feel really tiny today, so I didn't weigh myself though because I was really busy. But so I'm hoping tomorrow we are 124. But we're back to our Arnold weight of 125. So now from here, we're trying to get to true stage conditioning and trying to get to 123 by the first week of April, and then decide, and then down to 122, and then once we're at 122, decide if I need to lose another pound or two, or how much more.
Just based on how you look?
Based on how I look. Yep,
Yeah.
just based on how I look. So, so just we did a little tiny macro decrease and cardio increase this past week.
Did it feel tiny though?
But I feel so little today, like little, and I have like, which is not good, but like I can see like lots of like striations through my glutes, like when I pose and move. And so I'm like, which I feel like I couldn't see 2 days ago. Like,
That's good.
it's like a new, when you see those new little lines,
Yeah.
I'm not a vascular person at all. And so when I can see veins on my arms, I'm vascular in my core, but not in my arms. And so when I start seeing like any kind of vein, I'm like, okay, we're getting lean.
It's there. We're almost there.
Because
That's the fun part. I like that part of
So
prep.
that's starting to come in. So I'm like, okay, we're inching our way. But yeah, the focus is right now just conditioning. We're just trying to we're acting like we're 4 weeks out instead of 8 weeks out. I'm just trying to hurry up and get conditioned so that I can feed into the show this time and not chase conditioning.
Yeah,
So lots
be
of
ready
steps.
early.
Lots of cardio. I've been getting my heart rate 125 to 130.
Woo.
I figured out what works for me. I'm gonna tell you all. Okay. So I have to start. I was like starting my incline here and then working my intensity up, like as my body warmed up, like every couple of minutes I'd increase the incline or the speed. Now I'm just starting at like 10 incline, 3 speed or whatever, and like my heart rate is shooting up like faster, and then I'm actually tapering it, the incline and the speed down to a more manageable as the minutes go, and my heart rate is staying the same and so the whole entire time. So I think maybe
Perfect.
that's what's helping with me getting to 124. That's why I'm trying
I love
to.
it. I've been working on that so much too. It's like I sent you guys screenshots the other day. I almost sent you another one because I think I finally got mine nailed too. I've been finding that if I can get it up,
What's the equation?
if I can get it up, then I can like back off my speed
Yes.
too, just a touch to like maintain
Yes.
my heart
that's
rate
me.
being up.
Yes.
So I think I do incline 10.
Okay.
And then I start with my incline there, and the whole time I just leave it
Oh,
consistent.
do you the whole time?
Yeah,
Oh,
whole
I can
time
get mine
incline
down
10.
to 7. From 10 to 7.
I
You're
just
like
don't mess with
climbing
the
mountains.
incline.
Oh
It's
my
like
God.
like if you're on a stair climber, you can't change the incline. So I just
Yeah.
leave it. But I do mess with the speed. So I'll maybe for the first minute or two do speed like 3 just to be moving. But then I've been going up to almost speed 4. And then I'll like taper down to like
That's some fast
3.8 to 3.7. But the thing is, I think my treadmill at home is a little bit
Oh, true.
slower
I think
than like a
treadmills-
commercial treadmill.
Okay.
Because when I go to the gym, it's a lot faster at the same speeds.
Gotcha. Yeah, every treadmill is kind of different-ish in how the incline and how the speed feels. So you have to kind of really be in tune with like the heart rate, but how you feel and sweating. Like I'm pouring sweat
So
on this.
My sweat is gone.
your sweat is gone. You're not
I
sweaty
can't,
anymore.
No, not at all. I'm the speed girl, so I'll do a speed of 4, but no incline.
Yeah.
So then I'm just chugging. But the only thing that makes me self-conscious is I feel like I'm heavy-footed. So you just hear like,
I walk hard. Oh.
yeah, I walk
Oh my
hard.
gosh. Our
I-
treadmill at home, you can hear it through the whole house. We have a good sized house, but like the way the room that the treadmill's in, it like backs up to our master closet, and then like the bathroom and then the bedroom, and I can hear like if like Anthony's on the treadmill, I can hear him if I'm like in the whole other room walking. And it's just kind of like. But then I was walking on. I'm like, I'm just as loud.
Yeah,
This is just a loud treadmill.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. But we decided to aim for Wasatch, so I am 4 weeks out.
Yay! It's official.
Yes, so we'll see. I'm excited. I'm
And we're all
excited to have
going.
everyone there, right?
We're all
Because
gonna
almost
go.
everyone there's a ton of people from Idaho competing in the pro show and in the amateur show, and so it'll just be nice to do a West Coast show and see everyone. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited that you're actually like
Yeah.
Woohoo,
announcing
committed.
you're
Official.
doing this.
She
Committed.
announced it
Committed.
on the podcast.
So it's real.
Right? Oh my gosh. I know. They're so excited. My face just, we'll see.
Well, it's like
We'll
sometimes
see.
it's nice to like leave it open ended, so that you can like make sure that you're prepared enough. But I also think sometimes when you're this close and when you commit, you give yourself that little bit of accountability, a little bit of an extra push. Like, okay, I'm in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
no,
in this.
Absolutely.
There's no backup. We're going.
No, there's no backup plan. None at all.
So I'm really excited for you.
I'm excited too. I'm
too.
excited to have you guys
watch.
there.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch.
It'll
I'm
be
so
awesome.
excited.
I'm excited for the donut wall. What am I saying?
Oh yeah, the donut.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, I want what's on your stories you've been posting.
Guys, I'm so hungry. My feed is just full of
Really?
the craziest desserts, and I love that kind of thing. Like,
Oh yeah.
Homemade, like just like hodgepodge of things.
Yeah. Those things are crazy. I literally look at him like.
oh, that's my jam. The weirder, the better.
Yeah.
The weirder dessert, the better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like putting all kinds of weird donuts and cinnamon rolls and cookies into things. Like, count me in. Yes.
I'm not there yet right now. I mean,
No.
I'm hungry, but I'm not
so
there.
hungry.
I did see like a reel with some like pancakes the other day that looked pretty good with like some crazy banana Foster's toppings.
Oh,
Yeah.
But-
I haven't reached it yet. I
No,
haven't.
I'm not there.
Yeah.
I wasn't that way before this last show, but after this
It's the
last
high
show,
day.
the hunger has kicked in, and I'm just like, "Ooh, flavored water. Everything is flavored.
Everything is flavored.
But it's working. I mean, if you get
Yeah. No
Feeling
bites.
tiny
We're
and
just
leaner.
chugging along water
Yeah.
and
yeah.
stepping.
Yep. All the steps.
Yep. My prep update isn't much. My weight hasn't dropped yet, but this week we did do a little bit of change up of calories. So far it's just been like I've had like little drops or like it's just been consistent. And this time it was like, okay, 2 days at your same macros and then one high carb day. So it was like a refeed, but just carbs, no fats were increased or anything. And then today we're down to a whole lower calories, so lower carbs and lower fats, but same protein. So yeah, first low
That's a
day.
big drop. That's a big drop. That's fun.
But it'll be good because it'll be like 4 days before my next check-in of 4 low days. And so we'll kind of see if that actually kind of pushes
Does
for
something
a real drop.
Yeah.
Because I think he just wants to get everything
moving.
moving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're both pushing. I just gave
Yeah.
up my triple digits of carbs.
Carbies.
Bye.
Getting low.
That's always a sad day. You're like,
100%. 100%. I always like tell Zach exactly how many rice cakes it is so that he can understand how little it is.
a little carbs.
Yeah.
My whole day is wrapped up in that.
Or like a
this many rice
Costco
cakes.
muffin is like 60 something or something. And he loves Costco muffins. So I'm like, yeah, I can only have one if I had one
One muffin all day.
all day.
That would
all
be a
day.
full day of food.
All day.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
It is extreme. This is the
Yeah.
extreme part. I'm gonna actually start weighing myself too. I haven't weighed
Oh,
myself yet, so I'm gonna
okay.
weigh myself for the first time this check-in, which is tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'll be
Oh,
4 weeks
cool.
out, and then
Yeah.
just as a tool. So I'm just happy that I've made it
Yeah, you did.
without doing it and without thinking that much about it too. It was a
Mm-hmm.
lot about like my effort through my workouts, my effort through my cardio, making sure I'm hitting everything, making sure that with posing was huge. I was paying attention to the details and doing the exercises and showing up more and just practicing, having a more intentional practice.
Yeah.
So,
And it's cool that I think that like because bikini is so about the look that you and your coach were able to get you to this point on no scale, on no
Yeah.
number. It
Yeah.
was strictly like your coach had to strictly just watch your progress over
Yeah.
the prep and make the necessary food, cardio, whatever changes, and how like that is bikini. It's about a look and
Yeah.
like you really
and it's possible.
and it's possible.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
super cool. I
Yeah.
think I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really is about the look. And
Yeah.
I
It's good to
do-
prove it to myself. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, it's not like I have to do this for every prep, but it's good to prove to myself that it's really like that dissociation
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
now
Can't
kind of
dis-
very, yeah.
Yeah, And it's like also really cool because like you just like mentioned like being more intentional in your posing. I think you're like more particular with how you're posing because that is your what you've been using as a gauge, like what you look like in your front and back pose.
Yeah.
Like, is that the look that we're going for? Is it improving?
Yeah.
Does it look like I'm X weeks out? Is it, you know?
My last check-in, I actually said, I was like, do you like, because I check in Monday, Thursday, and I was like, do you like Monday's front pose better too? And he's like, yeah, Monday. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So I do have to turn my toe a little bit more this way. Okay.
Oh, that's
Right?
cool. Oh, I like it.
So little things like that. But no, I love that he's very black and white. You know, we both show up very authentically, and, you know, he's just very straight with me. So
Good.
it worked.
That's
It
good.
worked.
That's what you need.
Right? Yeah.
I like it.
But we put out a question just about, you know, mishaps or mistakes that have gone on through prep, or just different scenarios that you found yourself in that maybe weren't that comfortable, or that you learned from. So we wanted to share some of ours, I think, to start. So anyone want to start? Do you want me to start? Okay.
Going.
All right.
You're on a roll.
Okay, so my I guess prep mistake or something that I learned from was in my first few years, my very first coach and first few years of competing. Before we went into a show, it was kind of like a little team. He would have us go to check-ins, and then from check-ins and getting our number and everything, we would pick up a piece of homemade cheesecake from him. And all of us got, like, no matter what division you were, like figure, classic physique bodybuilders, bikini, we all got a piece of
How big was
cheesecake.
this cheesecake?
Maybe like this.
Okay.
It was pretty sizable. I would say maybe somewhere between.
It wasn't like a Cheesecake Factory cheesecake.
No, it wasn't that. It was like it was homemade, but it was still pretty thick. Like looking back on it, I'm like, to not have like that much dairy and then have that
all of a
much
sudden.
dairy the day before.
So he got it for you to eat before the show. It wasn't like,
Yes.
here's a treat that you can take to your hotel room so that when you step off stage,
No,
you can eat this.
no,
for
it was
everyone to-
like you made it like right before. Yeah, it was crazy. It was
Interesting.
looking back on it, it was nuts. The day of, I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
at the moment.
I had no complaints, none at all.
And now
but
we would probably be like,
yeah, I couldn't believe
Nope.
I ate that, and I still showed up pretty like. I mean, I
It
was
worked
happy
out for
with
you.
it. So, but yeah, so that was a little bit crazy. Just to kind of start and looking back on, and I think that I don't know. I think I've had the best shows if I keep things very similar and carb up on similar foods. So right now, I think I'm down to like eating 4 to 5 different foods a day, and that's it. And I'm like, just telling myself how
Predictable.
easy is this going to be to pack?
yeah,
So easy.
so easy.
Yeah. But also, it's like if anything like changed in your physique. Like remember one time you like
Yes,
You
I gained
gained-
6 pounds
yeah, and it's
3
like
weeks out of a
when
show.
you're that when your foods are that like regimented and predictable, and then you can pinpoint like okay,
Yes.
it has nothing to do with what I ate or whatever.
Mhm.
It has to be a hormone thing. It's
Yes.
got to be whatever, and it's
Yeah.
got to be. So when
Yeah.
you keep it that simple, it makes it
It's
easier.
so
for your
much
coach
easier,
to-
and I think like the time most recently that I had the most variability in foods is like when I've done a show and then I'm like in between shows.
yeah.
So that was something that I have to come back to exactly, because I ended up you know, carbing up, let's say, more with rice cakes and things like that. So then I just kept eating that, even though you know, I could go back to more whole foods and things like that. So that was one thing that I found, like when I was chasing my pro card, is that I ended up snacking more instead of full meals in between shows, just because it was like, oh, you only have 2 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah, so that's one thing that I kind of focus on now, which is good. Yeah. What about you guys?
I think it's interesting to like, is like cheesecake really before
Oh,
your
I
stage? I'm like
know,
still
I
thinking of that.
know.
But something that stood out to me early on in my journey is I was getting, you know, I was started competing. I had a local coach, and she was competing like in the Olympia that year, and it was like exciting. And I did my first 2 shows with her, and then that next spring, just a few months later, I did 2 more shows with her. And on my 4th show, it was actually Emerald Cup in Washington, and it was my worst placing I've ever gotten. But I was so excited and like felt like I really wanted to do well. Like it didn't like discourage me that I didn't do well. I was like, this is my sport. I really want to like get
Like
better
the moment
at
you
this.
fell in love with it. And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm here
Yeah.
for the work.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh, I'm doing this for fun with my friends,
Yeah.
and you know, or like I'm just, you know, setting myself a goal to get on stage. It was like, I want to get better. I am never gonna place this low again. I like want to, I want to like compete, and we're all in Washington for the weekend, and I have friends that are competing where it's like a little bit of the whole event there. They have like all the vendor booths
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like really excited and wrapped up in it. And at the same time, the coach was posting YouTube videos on why bodybuilding was bad for you and how competing destroyed her life and things like that. And it was like really, really difficult to like hear my coach, who was kind of supposed to be like my main person getting me through this and teaching me this, posting things like that. But then to me, she's like encouraging me to compete. And so it just felt very split. And that was like a really hard moment for me because she was my first coach. And it's like you feel very loyal to someone who like helped bring you into this.
That's so confusing.
And it was confusing. It was hard. And it was just like, like it was hard to be excited. But I was like really, really excited. So I think that was like the first time I ever had to like question like, should I look for a new coach? And it wasn't because the coaching wasn't good. Like, I mean, we had a really good time, and I had fun, and obviously I wanted to do more. But
sometimes you have to check your energy, like with the people that you surround yourself with during prep, and just make sure that their energy is encouraging and makes you do your best. I think.
And do your mentalities match? Like obviously at that time of her life, she no longer had the same mentality of bodybuilding that you now did. And so
it just didn't match anymore.
Yeah, it didn't match anymore.
Yeah. And so it evolves. Yeah.
And I think it's also kind of stuck with me as in kind of like a thing too. It's like what you put out there publicly on your social media or podcast or YouTube or things like that, it reaches more people than you know.
Yeah.
Like there could be someone that you talk to every day and you don't realize they're watching you still. Even if it's from a distance, and it's like the energy you put out there like resonates with people.
Yeah, it matters.
And so it's like I think even if like you decided that you wanted to go a different direction, I think it was just really difficult for me to hear someone tell me that it was such a not a good sport.
It'd be one thing if like that coach decided to step back from coaching to like, but it is really conflicting if they're still trying to coach but also saying this. So that puts the athlete in a very like confused mindset and like, how do I enjoy the sport I just fell so much in love with? And I don't. So
that's where I said thank you and thank you for the experience, and I was really grateful for like starting with her. But I had to like make my first coach change at that time, and I think I ended up taking like 6 months with like no coach. To kind of just like figure out what I wanted to do and move forward. And obviously I didn't quit. Kept going from there, but I never stopped like training. Even right from there, I was like, I'm just going to do my workout plans and do some more research. And that's when I started researching the sport more. So you can look at like silver lining of like an experience like that, where like I was like confused and it was like I felt misled. It caused me to research more instead of just blindly like be like, I'm following this person.
And then and you've had to make another coaching change since that. And so that research and time taught you how to research for a coach, like what to ask, what to look into, I know you've got your spreadsheets. I know you. And so like it just built your process for finding the best fit for you.
Yeah. And it just goes to show like over time, everything evolves, like for people's experience too. Like for her, obviously she was really committed to a point where she was at an Olympia level, and then she evolved into something where she didn't want to be as involved anymore. And so it's like for me too, like as coaching, it was great to have her as a local coach starting out, and I evolved into like maybe a little bit higher level coach and then to a larger team, and now I'm onto a coach who is getting people to the Olympia stage. So it's just kind of like you just as you evolve as an athlete, your coaching experience can evolve too.
You should check in with yourself to just make sure that each year that your values and your goals align with the coach that you're having lead you. And I think that there's no issue with change. I know I had a coach once really, really harp on loyalty. And for me, I think that a lot of coaches talk about loyalty to the coach, but I really think it should be both athlete and coach having loyalty to the athlete, because it's the athlete's body, it's the athlete's mind, it's the and the coaches that I've kept in touch with that have coached me previously still like message me when I do well at a show to say, hey, I saw you, you're doing great, blah blah blah. And to me, that's the type of coach that I want around me, is someone that's just supporting my journey whether they're in it or not.
I like that.
I love that. Yep, that's exactly. And even if you are a beginner and you start out with a coach, like you said, checking in to make sure both of your like mindsets and match, but also is as you're growing as an athlete, is the coach growing with you as well?
Mm-hmm.
And because if they are, maybe that's a good team and
Mm-hmm.
maybe grow together and
Mm-hmm.
move up the sport together. But if they're not growing and evolving
Mm-hmm.
as a coach, then that's where you can think about like, well, I'm growing and evolving as an athlete, so I want to find a coach that grows and evolves. And
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You didn't do yours yet, did
Oh,
you?
mine.
Yeah.
Oh, what was it? Oh, yes. Okay. So my very first coach, my very first year competing, it was like a local, very small team, and newer coach. And during prep, they would allow weekly cheat days in prep, like leading all the way up. We cut them out, I think, 2 weeks out from the show. So, guys, imagine
Cheat
you're
day.
dieting. I wish I like vlogged. I wish I had a Cody in my life. My
Yeah.
first, I wish in my beginning of bodybuilding
Yeah.
to just document what like Ronnie and I used to go get me for food on this day.
Oh my God.
But like, so you go 6 days and you're hungry, like
Yeah,
you're so,
that's
and especially as a
crazy.
first timer, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
you've never experienced that low
Yeah.
of food or hunger before,
Yeah.
or restriction in food.
Yeah.
And so that seventh day, oh, it's my free day. Guess who is like driving all around
Oh
town,
my
picking up
God.
all these little
Can
foods
you
from
imagine?
these different places, eating whatever she wants all day.
Yeah.
You can, let me just tell you, like reverse all the hard work you did in 6 days
Oh,
in
absolutely.
a day, like in
Oh,
calories.
absolutely.
It's so
In
much
hours.
easier. Yeah, like
Yeah.
hours. So, and now I like still lost like 20 pounds or whatever in that prep,
Yeah.
but I wasn't stage lean. I
Yeah.
wasn't, and none of her girls really like, they, we were lean, but we weren't like stage lean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, it's just now looking back, I laugh at that because I'm like, what it takes to get truly stage lean is
Mhm.
not weekly cheat
Yeah.
meals, unless you're like that rare person that like burns through food, right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
need it to stay
Yeah.
full.
But they're
and
usually controlled, kind of.
Controlled
They're more
refeeds.
controlled. Like even if
Yeah.
they're
a
cheat meals,
burger
and it's
a-
definitely not a cheat day.
It's not a cheat day, and it's
Yeah.
not an unlimited menu and no parameters.
And you
It's-
might be thinking about like that day. I'm actually really thinking about the Monday after, because to go like that
extreme, and then back to
extreme,
just,
and then that Monday,
oh, and then that's why
would sleep
like
all day.
you feel like high low,
Yeah,
because
that
you've got
doesn't feel good at
digestion
all.
is off, messes up your weight.
Yeah.
Sodium is
I feel like whenever I like go off plan too, it's like that next day is like I want to do it again. Or, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
Oh,
next
yeah.
2 or 3 days after are
Not
the
only is it
hardest, I think, too.
physically
Yeah.
terrible, but mentally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially as a new competitor. That's
Oh,
like the
man.
like I don't know. So yeah, that was my experience. Ever since then, I knew that because I remember being like, this doesn't really make sense, but my coach is like telling me to do that. It's just those
Yeah.
things that like a little note that you add to the
Yeah.
question list.
Yeah. As soon as you have that gut feeling.
Yeah, like
"Uh,
this doesn't really. And then when I started paying more attention, because I that was kind of like I had a you moment where I was like, I freaking love this sport. Like I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
have all
yeah.
this drive. I want to go to nationals. I started researching national competitors, what they look like. Then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I didn't look like that. So this is
Yeah.
what like who are their coaches? What
Right.
do they do? Follow
Yeah.
their Instagrams,
mhm.
and realize like, oh, it requires like really strict, like not this.
Oh, no
And so
cheat
then-
days.
made a coaching change after
Yeah.
that year to
Yeah.
a more just well-developed
Seasoned, yeah.
coach, seasoned
Mhm.
coach,
Mhm.
and we had refeeds. So
Yes.
instead of these, you had some higher carbs and fat, but it's structured, no
Mhm.
free meals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was mine.
Yeah, and I've had different experiences with that, but whole cheat days. It's just kind of like crazy.
I
'cause
just
you
hate
could
the
think
word.
About, well, you could think about even like the amount of like,
There's 24 hours in a day. If I just don't sleep, how much I could eat.
but like that, I don't.
That's
even
how my
think,
brain
like,
works.
Really, it totally does.
Yeah, the point of like that would be maybe like a mental break or like a
But
little
some
bit of a
coaches will
caloric
do
break.
like go have a free meal, but they say like, I want you to have this many rolls of this sushi, or
Yeah.
I want you to have a burger from this place, none of this on it, and a side of fries.
I've had that a
give
lot
more, yeah,
through my
that's-
preps.
yeah,
I've had
seen you
preps
do
where
it, yeah.
I've eaten
Five
burgers.
Guys.
Yeah, Five Guys. I had a whole prep where I did
Love
Five
Five
Guys
Guys.
like once or twice a week. But it was always like exactly what you said. We
Mhm.
still did no cheese, no dairy.
Right.
And it was like I had the exact same thing, and we knew we could use that as like a fill up food because like I had it consistently. And then we also had preps where like I didn't do any burgers or fries because it was like higher fat. We wanted to be more strict.
Mhm.
And so I did like a steak, and I always ordered like an 8-ounce like
Yeah.
fillet, and it was always a lean cut.
Mhm.
And then I had a plain baked potato with a small little bit of butter. Like
Yeah.
everything was like measured
Very
and simple,
controlled.
Yeah.
but it was like we called it a refeed, and it was at a restaurant, but it was always the exact same thing,
Yeah.
and it was always very, very clean.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's different than a cheat day. 'Cause you can imagine just how much like how many calories that could be.
It just skews the data.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Not predictable.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So it's fine. I'm sure I have more, lots more. 7, 8 years of doing this.
Oh
you know?
yeah, I think we all have so many
Yeah.
stories to go on that.
Yeah.
That's kind of just some of ours. We have so many experiences.
We'll share more along the way.
Yeah. Let's hop into
Your guys'
yeah.
What some of you
Your
have
guys'
shared with us.
experience.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate it. It's
Yeah, we
awesome
got
to
some
kind of
good
get people
ones, and
involved.
honesty
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and we always want to
vulnerable.
it's not just us three chatting. We want to chat with you too.
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
good to hear from everybody.
Alrighty. You ready to give your thoughts and opinions?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm full of them.
Go for it.
Alrighty. Eating nothing but tilapia and asparagus during peak week for all 6 meals a day for 6 days straight.
So that's a tough one because
That's 36 meals.
I feel yeah it is. I
That's
feel
quick
like
math.
I'm not that depleted yet.
one, I feel like that's an old school method when it's tilapia and asparagus because I feel like not every coach now would assign that or recommend that. And then the second thought that comes across my mind is that person's probably not lean enough, and the coach is doing everything possible
Yeah.
to get them the last little push of leanness. And peak week honestly isn't meant to be for still cutting or still trying to.
No, it
should
shouldn't
already
be.
be ready.
It shouldn't
there.
be. That sounds really low carb and really low fat.
Really low.
Really
Which-
low. So which I don't know that I would focus on the type of food. Like if you're digesting that well, then yeah, sure, keep it in. But I think you should definitely think about like hormone levels in terms of, there are some standards of like caloric intake that are just mainly for how your body functions, not really like beyond that. I think there's some like minimums, especially for women.
Yeah, I think if you're looking at a longevity standpoint, like
Yeah,
that's
that's
something
what
to
I was gonna say.
consider. But I
Mhm.
also kind of want to point out that that's probably not as uncommon as people think.
Mhm.
I personally had a week between shows. It was in 2020 when there was back-to-back I think it's when Universe and Nationals
yeah.
were a week apart.
Yeah.
I think those were the two that were a week apart, and
Mhm.
I needed to tighten up between the two.
Mhm.
And so my coach assigned that to me, but I was even having a hard time digesting the asparagus, so we literally just switched to fish. And I just had white fish for
Oh, for every
6
meal.
meals a day,
That's it.
and that's it. And then I
Woo.
wore a waist trainer
You are
all
a
day,
champ.
and I did 3 hours of walking on a treadmill a day.
Did
I
you get
think-
what you wanted?
I did place better. I went from third call-outs at Universe to 6th place and first call-outs at Nationals.
Mm.
So, did it work? Sure. Was it 1 week? Was it a temporary extreme because I
Mm-hmm.
had paid for all the entry fees and the plane tickets and the hotels, and I like really wanted to push for it and as one last chance for the year? Yeah, I did it. I mean, it was
Did you have regrets mentally, or
no.
well, obviously not physically, because I mean you went from third college to first
Yeah.
college, so I'd
Yeah,
be like,
and
"Woo."
I don't feel
regardless,
like it-
regardless, I'm like, thank God
I
for
feel like
doing
because
that.
it was 1 week, I don't feel like it
You're
had
like,
a
okay, I can-
long-term hormone
Right.
damage
I don't think so,
to
yeah.
That's
me.
the other thing.
No.
Sometimes fats do have to get really. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, I've
for short
done months of
periods.
low
Yeah.
Yeah.
fats. And I then would take a blood test right after my prep, and I'd be fine on my hormone levels, luckily. I mean, some people, it might throw them off more. So it's,
Mhm.
I think it's kind of like, if you're like competing at a regional level and that's like what you're doing, it's not ideal. Like, hands down,
Yeah.
everyone can agree that that's not an ideal peak week. But like, if you have paid for everything and it's your show and you still have to lean out, it might take an extreme. So there's like that kind of
Mhm.
thought.
And then just I guess like for me, if in that situation, I would think I'm kind of like you. Okay, kind like my coach tells me to do this. It's for a short amount of period. Maybe that's what we have to do. I mean, I would probably ask why, like walk
Yeah.
me through
Mhm.
why, and then come up with some of maybe my solutions and be like, I kind of, feel like doing this, and see if we can partner. But also then, in those kinds of examples, it's like, it's kind of that I put that in the back of my mind. Is this something I want to continue to do with that coach? Is this their protocol all the time?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, is this just this one instance, or is this just how things are done?
Yeah.
And then decide for myself if this is the relationship for me and the way I want to go about
Yeah.
future.
And talking
preps
about
and-
longevity in the sport
Yeah.
too, I mean, you could also think about like whether or not are you mentally there as an athlete to do that little bit of a
Yeah,
push.
yeah.
Have you been checking all the boxes
Right.
earlier in your prep to make that push make sense? Or is this push because you didn't do all the work prior? And if that's the case, to me, you shouldn't do the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, hopefully you would have a experienced enough coach who would, like, know you're not going to be lean enough weeks in advance where maybe you could reschedule a show or
Yep.
do a different
Yeah.
show, push
And-
your
yeah.
show date back so that you don't have to go to those extremes on peak week.
Yeah.
You're going to have a more desirable, be
Mhm.
like, have a coach be honest with you and be like, hey, look, you're not 4 weeks out. You're like
Right.
8 weeks out. This isn't
Yeah.
going to be a good show for you.
And you
Yeah.
can't shove it into a week. You won't feel
No,
good.
you
You
won't.
won't look good. It's just not a good experience.
Mm-mm. Mentally
Oh,
or
yeah.
physically.
I don't think so. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the stage is always there. So,
Always. There's always a
you
show.
know,
So
yeah.
there's lots of thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Next one.
Alrighty. When you're super lean and you have to shave oh my god, I just butchered that. When you're super lean and you have to shave ... razor sometimes wins.
Yeah, I've done that. Until this season, I did that like every show. I like nicked a shoulder. I nicked an elbow. And then I had this and then my tan collected on this
Oh,
one
dang.
little spot. I've done that. So
yeah.
now when I shave my whole body in prep, I'm so slow in the shower. For that last shave that you have to do,
Yeah.
I'm like, just take your time, Kaylia. Like, make sure I'm just just turn on a podcast. And I'm just listening. I'm just
That's so
like,
funny.
going so
I've-
slow.
Do you
I've done it.
wax? What do you do?
Oh, no, I shave.
Yeah.
But I've had, well, actually, in my 20s, I did some laser hair removal, so it makes it a little easier for like legs.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have that. too.
But the funny thing is, like, when you shave for your show, you have to get everywhere, like your whole body, because even like that little peach fuzz on your shoulder shows.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And your shoulders are like important. So the place that I've gotten the most like nicks is actually my abs, because if you think
Yes.
about like you have like their
I've done
bumps,
my
they're
belly button.
indented.
That's funny.
And so I've had like marks
never
where
done
like
that.
I almost have like a scab or like a little like mark where the tan gets a little darker there because
Yeah.
I've like razor burned shaved off skin because I'm like trying to get in there.
In the little, because when you're lean and you have like all the little
Yeah.
cracks,
The little
with the abs,
lines?
it's hard to like get in the
Yeah,
little divots.
all the
It's-
grooves.
yeah,
Oh
all
my
the
God.
little
Like,
grooves.
can I stretch
Yes,
and like
you're like-
shave a little bit or like pull the skin to the side? Like, it's weird. It's so weird. And also, like your back, like you have to
Yeah,
shave
no.
like maybe like your lower back and stuff. So I'm always like, ask my boyfriend, can you
Oh, I can
shave
do
this?
it. I just do it myself. I can do it.
I can't
Really?
reach like the very
I can
center,
rotate. Yeah.
but
You
like
just do-
he can't get.
But you
Says the
can't
posing
see.
coach.
Can you?
What?
Are you like looking in the mirror behind you?
No, you just feel for it.
Oh, interesting. That is interesting.
I'm
I would
thinking,
definitely
I'm
nick
thinking
myself.
like you're an owl and you're just like turning.
Well,
around,
yeah, you just
turning-
kind of rotate and you just like shave.
Demonstrations to come.
I can't even touch my back.
I make a
That's
reel.
really fun. Yeah, exactly.
shave
How
your
to shave your back.
backside.
I just have my boyfriend do it, but he can't. He has a hard time like getting my spine, so I'm always like
Yes.
leaning over all weird.
Oh, yeah. I skipped this entire experience and I put Veet or Nair everywhere. And
Really?
that's it.
I've never used that.
Easy
for,
peasy. Literally stand there 10 minutes, do something, wash it off, done.
Oh. I'm always scared of it, like doing, because I've always had tanning issues.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
fair.
always scared of it for my skin. That's why I've never done that.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I hate shaving though. Shaving for
yeah,
I have
no.
laser hair removal hips down, but
Yeah.
you still
You still shave.
have to
Yeah.
just
You're
do a
still
little touch
peach
up.
fuzz.
If I
and-
nick
yeah.
myself, I'll hyperpigment, and then there's
Oh.
like little dark spots, and so I'm like, nope,
Nope, we're not doing
nope.
with
And
that.
I haven't had an issue with Nair yet.
Yeah.
Please God, never. Please.
Oh, I can just
So
smell it.
Nair or
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
a smell.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, it stinks. It
Nair
absolutely
go really
stinks.
slow.
Yeah.
Shave very slow.
Yeah.
Very slowly, carefully.
Being colder 24/7.
Oh, that's just the part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're losing
Just-
body fat. You have no
It means
insulation.
you're
It's the name of the
getting
game.
lean.
Yeah.
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 Where lots of long sleeves, have sweatshirts, have blankets in your car, drink lots
Mhm.
of hot tea.
Tea. It's a good
Um,
hunger
I used to
killer,
wear
too.
leggings under my scrubs to work.
Okay. Oh, that's a good idea.
Like
There you
literally,
go.
like
Yeah.
like long underwear.
Socks. Fuzzy socks everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Heater on in
yeah,
the car.
every prep that I do in winter, I promise it's gonna be the last one every time because I feel so cold. I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah, and it hurts. You're just like, it's like you're so cold, but you burn because
Yeah.
you're just so
It's just
cold.
so cold.
Yeah.
I feel like my hands get like
yes, hands
just like
Yeah.
low
and, like,
circulation
purpley and
cold.
Mm-hmm.
there's no way around it. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're just try to bundle up and pay a higher gas bill, electric bill.
Heated blankets.
Oh, heated
I love my heated
blankets.
blankets.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Yes.
What else do I use? I don't even know.
Heated blankets, heating
Hand
pads.
warmers?
Hand warmers.
I haven't gone there yet.
That's good.
I bring those
coworker-
backstage though.
A
You-
coworker
Yeah,
the
I
other
have
day
little
brought
hand
me some.
warmers. Yeah, because my extremities get really
cold.
like I think I have a little bit of what's it called, Raynaud's?
Okay.
My hands and my feet.
Or diabetes.
Stop.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
Uh,
no, my hands and feet. Even when I'm doing cardio, I find
Yes, I
because when I do
noticed the
cardio,
same
my
thing.
blood goes to my core, and then my hands are like
Is that what's
ice.
happening? Okay.
Yes.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, because it
That
goes
was
to
the
your
di-
heart, and it's like
You're
trying
like,
to like
Wow.
yeah. So
Yes,
like
I
it
was
takes
doing
out from your
Cardio yesterday,
extremities.
and I had to start like kind of flexing. I had to do this
Yeah.
because I was like trying to pump my fingers.
Yeah, like there's no blood. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it's really bad. Yeah,
Oh,
my dad
funny.
just told me that he has Raynaud's, and I'm like,
Oh.
oh well, thanks,
Oh my gosh.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's just one of the things and that happens and it's like it's uncomfortable, but it's not like
Oh, it's not.
It's
There's worse
fine.
things. It's
you're just
I could think of a
like the
couple.
hunger,
I could think of some worse
Rather
things.
than being
There's
cold.
so much worse. So it's just part of it. For me, like I almost like some of those little feelings, even some of the hunger, I almost like
it's kind of exciting.
get a
'Cause you're
tingle of
like-
excitement of like, oh, see how I'm getting cold now? I must be getting lean
This is the
finally.
next phase.
Yeah.
You're getting in
That's
there.
fair,
And right
that's
now
fair.
I'm like, oh, I'm hot. Ah, shoot, I'm not lean yet.
Yeah.
She can't wait to feel cold.
You know, we all look for the little signs of prep.
Alrighty. I had a popular coach in the PNW, and she gave me the same peaking plan as every other competitor, and completely spilled me over for my first show. Worst thing is she knew I wasn't going to place well, and gave me much less attention, and then more attention to the other girls who were going to place well, and told me to eat whatever.
So I think the first part of that is just comparing to other athletes, especially teammates. I think that it just really changes the energy, and comparison is truly the thief of joy. I think that focusing on yourself for sure, and just checking in with yourself after each prep and during the prep of things that maybe didn't meet your expectations from your coach, or you want clarification on if this is always going to be that way during prep, or if this was, just this prep specific. But just checking in with your coach after a prep to let them know the things that you maybe were disappointed in or wanted to improve, but also leaving that channel open so that your coach can also evaluate you or as an athlete. I always ask my coaches after my prep, what can I do better as an athlete to improve for next prep? Is there anything, overall that I could do better? And then that makes, I think, a really comfortable conversation of things that you can both improve on, because to me, that's why we're all kind of doing this in the first place, is just to improve and be our very best. So
Yeah, I think that to your first point, sometimes it's good to know that not coaches may have their athletes do different things. So it's actually a good sign that you're not doing the same exact thing as every single one of their athletes. However, if it's something, an example like that, then, you may save that for afterwards. And like you said, bring that up. If you feel like you can have a productive conversation with your coach and they can receive that feedback well and have a collaborative conversation with you, say, hey, I noticed this. I'm just wondering if you can explain why, because maybe there's justification or
there should be.
There should be. If there's not justification, if they can't explain why, if they get defensive, if they get mad,
Run.
then run. What Steph said. So that's how I would kind of handle that situation.
Well, first of all, I'd want to say, like, I'm sorry you had that experience. That's unfortunate.
To feel that way.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to feel discarded or not as important as any other athlete.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry you had that experience, but coaches are humans and it's natural for them to be a little bit more involved in an athlete that's competing or doing well. If you're not going to be placing as well, or you felt like that was the reason why, you can still be very involved in communicating with your coach too, because what you put in, generally the coach will give back. If you're not a communicative athlete and you're
Mhm.
not the one asking for more and asking for things from your coach and asking for feedback, they're going to be less likely to give that to you.
Yeah.
So it is a two-way street, which is it's kind of hard to say because you don't want to be like, oh, it's on you, but it a little bit is as an athlete. Like, we grow as athletes by giving feedback and putting in as much as you want back from the coach. You can't just expect the coach to be all in on you if you're not giving them all.
Right.
I don't know your effort level. I don't know what you said to them, so because we don't know.
Right.
But that's just kind of like a little bit of thought when you're like heading into like your next season, or if you
Mhm.
have a new coach or you're changing coaches. Like,
Mhm.
think about like what you want to put into it. I know you've talked a lot about like being very, very upfront and clear about like the expectation you have as an athlete for your coach,
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah.
And I know you just kind of want to trust that your coach is going to give you the attention,
Yeah.
but that comes to one other thought of mine of like when you're researching to pick a coach in the first place,
Mm-hmm.
is not just interviewing a coach, but also interviewing past athletes of that coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because it may be a really, really good coach that you're seeing coaching a lot of pros,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very busy with those pros, and they're going to give those pros a little bit more effort and time than they would maybe if you're on a large team,
Mm-hmm.
just because of their bandwidth. But you chose to be on that team with a large amount of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a
I
little
always
bit
kind of call it like, and I don't know, like, I don't think any coach should ever make you feel like, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
larger teams, larger coaches,
That do
successful
well.
coaches that have amateurs, the regional, national, and pro and Olympian level. Like, they
Mhm.
they have it all.
Mhm.
And they do a fairly well job of making everyone feel equal and important, and like they're putting just as much effort in.
Mhm.
But I'm assuming, I am not a coach on this level, but I'm assuming if I have Olympians, there is some extra detail and attention that's going into that level of
Mhm.
athlete. That's
Mhm.
why they've gotten to that level.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, I joined a bigger team
Yeah.
than what I was ever used to. I was
Mhm.
used to being like probably one of the top competitors on a very small team.
Mhm.
And I went to a bigger team, and my mindset was, you got to earn your spot. I got to earn
Yeah.
my spot. I've got to earn that respect as an
Yeah.
athlete. I have to show my coach, like,
Mhm.
I deserve to be on this bigger team. I deserve to be working with this coach because
Mhm.
I'm a good athlete. And yeah, I'm a national level competitor, but I'm going to perform like I'm a pro, like I'm Olympian,
Yeah.
and we're going to get me there.
Yeah.
And I never expected any kind of like special treatment,
Yeah.
anything, because to me, I needed to earn that as an athlete and show that. And I'm still working towards
Yeah.
that. So
I
No,
like that. I like
absolutely.
the earning your spot kind of mentality. It's almost like you feel very accomplished getting
yeah,
Yeah.
like
getting to where you are.
Yeah. You're not just giving it.
No,
You're not just
giving
giving
it
it.
at
Yeah.
all. And we choose when we are moving up in the sport and we're choosing our coach, we chose our coaches because of where we want to go in the
Mhm.
sport, and we know that they have the tools and the experience and the knowledge to get us there.
Mhm.
And we're not at our goal yet, and so
Mhm.
we're earning our spot along the way. Every check-in, every week, every month, every show is a chance to prove to that coach, like, I'm taking this seriously. You
Yeah.
can take me
I'm all in.
seriously. I'm
Yeah.
all in.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
like that.
And I
like that a
feel
lot.
like attention is different for different athletes. Like what I see as, you giving me enough attention to me is also very subjective.
Yeah.
Because I mean, some athletes might want to talk to their coach every day. Some
Mhm.
athletes might be like, "Oh, not every day, just on my check-in days. Please
Yeah.
don't contact me on any other day." I don't know. But like, that also looks different. So, like you said, just communicating with your coach what you expect of them or what
Yeah.
you hope that they will be able to bring to your life and your prep, and then the same thing back. I think that that's an important conversation. I have a funny one. I remember at the very beginning of when I hired Shane, I told him that I will just be saying what I have to say in my check-ins. I won't be putting little emoticons or little things to like make sure my tone isn't correctly received.
You might have a coach that clicks more with bubbly people, and then might
Yeah.
have a coach who's like, this is the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like an emoji user. Like I'm an exclamation mark emoji user. Yay!
Yeah.
Like I'm a very
Yeah.
and then Paul would just be like got it. Look like it just
Yeah.
short but not short. Like
Yeah.
when we talk on FaceTime and phone, it's a lot more like
Yeah.
but
Animated.
in texting, a lot more animated. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in texting it's very quick and short and I just know that. And so it's just I don't
Yeah.
take it
See, but some
personally.
people might. Some people
Right.
might see, and then they're like, good. What does
Yeah.
good mean?
Yeah.
You know, and then they go into this whole spiral, and
Yeah.
really it didn't mean
It's
anything.
like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
Move on. All right, next one.
I ate shrimp and cereal only all prep because it was all easily digestible per my coach. Added the calories and macros up, and I was eating under 600 calories. If that's 2 hours of cardio, had to go to the bathroom or to go to the bathroom. Had to take laxatives to go to the bathroom, and then had to do a full gut protocol for my digestion. So basically just had to reset the system at the end.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound
Yeah.
fun.
That's a
No.
tough prep.
That's a tough prep.
No.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
I've done some preps where you get very minimal in your food variety to the point where it's like I did some like cereal and chicken, but I don't do shrimp. But
Mhm.
I think I always included things like vegetables and things with fiber because there's a certain amount of health that needs to be involved, regardless of
Micronutrients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is something
It's
to
hard.
question.
I think the sport's extreme, but I
Mhm.
think that the reason that people sometimes have inner conflicts, is when their goals or their personal values don't align with that extreme. Like you have to put boundaries in terms of what you're willing to do for the sport. Like, is it a hobby for you? Is it a profession?
Mhm.
Like, how far are you willing to go? And so I think like making sure that, you know, if your coach does push you to that point, asking them like why, how long is this going to be? Is this something that you see me doing every prep? Like, I feel like there's questions
Or
first.
do your research.
Yeah, exactly.
Do
And like
your
kind
Do
of
your
doing a little bit of research.
I think looking into if this is, we don't know who's asking this, but if you're newer, because it's hard when you're new because you don't know
Yeah, that's true.
what research are you supposed to be doing? What
Yeah.
questions are you supposed to be asking? What is right or wrong? Like what is
Mhm.
healthy? What is not healthy?
Yeah.
What's too extreme? What's the sport is extreme, so what's the acceptable extreme?
Mhm.
It's hard. You don't really start to have those answers until you do this sport
That's fair,
more and
yeah.
you go through experiences. So, which is kind of why we have this podcast.
Yes.
Look into people who have been doing this sport for a long time. Reach out to them. So,
Mhm.
reach out to experienced competitors that are several years or notches above you and kind of ask these questions. That's kind of what Lo
Yeah.
said when talk to coaches' clients.
Mhm.
Don't just, yes, you need to communicate with your coach, but if you're questioning something, it's not feeling right, yeah, you should ask your coach. But this is where typically if you're doing this sport, you are an adult and so you need to kind of take things into your own hands a little bit and
Yeah.
do some research and ask other competitors, ask their clients, like,
Mhm.
is this what this looked like for you? Is this what you've been doing for 10 years that you've been doing this
Yeah.
sport? Is this normal? My chances are you're going to hear no.
Yeah.
And hear the people who are doing this sport for a really long time, you're going to hear how they do things and it's not that way.
Mhm.
And so then you can kind of put those pieces of the puzzle together
Mhm.
to decide, okay, is this coaching method for me? Do I need to go to someone that has more either healthier or different methods that I can do for the long term?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of my
And
spiel on
Mhm.
that.
If you're seeing a plan so
Restricted?
restricted like
Yeah.
that, like that's what it is. I feel like at some point, like when you first get that plan, you should ask your coach why, because there is a huge importance on health, even with an extreme. Like there's an optimal way to do it,
Mhm.
and is it really worth your health long term to not have an optimal plan? Like, I feel like even when I've had extreme plans, they were always very short or temporary or
Right.
And what's
like
short?
little
Short,
phases.
you're talking about like 3 weeks or less, 2 weeks or less,
yeah, a few
something
weeks.
like that.
Or there were like, if like, let's say like I had like a very low calorie for an extended period of time, we
Mhm.
had regularly implemented high days, rest days, things that helped
Recovery
me.
periods.
Yeah.
that- mhm.
And I think like I've always, even with a very, very like small diet, had an ability to swap the certain things in with micronutrients. Like,
Yeah.
I think that a little bit of versatility helps with that gut protocol for like the future.
Mhm.
Like having a like my last couple years of prep, I've done all macros and done my own meal plans,
Mhm.
and it's not necessarily so I can eat what I want to eat.
Mhm.
It's like I've been able to incorporate, instead of 3 ingredients, I can have 6,
Mhm.
but like little bits of this and a little bit of that, and things that make me feel good to eat, even if it's little amounts and it's low calories. But like I've had an easier time reversing, or like if I do eat something off plan later
Body
on,
doesn't
or
Mhm.
like
it,
respond negatively to it.
yeah, I don't
Mhm.
blow up, or like I don't have gut issues from it, I don't have indigestion from it, because I've had little bits of stuff
Yeah.
in my macros, because I've always like wanted micronutrients, or
Yeah.
like for me it's important to have some vegetables in my
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious, I guess, as to how that calorie deficit and that extreme is really affecting you and your life and your energy levels and
Mhm.
different things
Yeah,
like that. Because it could be
extreme.
another approach could be, you're not showing up at work like you should be. You're not, I don't know, you're not getting through your cardio or your workouts because you have to sleep because you have no
Right.
energy.
Right.
And so I think it could be damaging in
It's
many other
counterintuitive
ways.
to-
And yeah, prep should be always adding to your life.
Mhm.
It should never be taking away from your
Definitely.
life.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think I think a little bit of, yes, it's extreme. How extreme is acceptable for
Mhm.
aligning with your life,
Mm-hmm.
and long-term goals? And
Mhm.
so looking at plans, even if you're newer or advanced, when you first receive a meal plan, I think evaluating and asking questions with your coach is just fine. Don't blindly follow a plan. It's okay to ask your coach why, or
Mhm.
how long, or
Your coach.
yeah, like
Yeah,
ask
your coach
questions.
should make you feel comfortable asking why.
Yes.
Okay with asking why.
Yes.
Once I ate boiled chicken and shrimp, all prep, because it was my blood type diet. Mind you, I didn't know my blood type. My coach guessed LOLs.
First of all, I don't know what is a blood type diet.
Someone guess my blood type.
Well, you have a blood type, right?
Well, yeah.
But
I hope.
I think there's like
You're
a,
alien.
Are
I
you
think,
O?
yeah.
A?
But I think
I'm an
it's
O.
totally bogus.
it's like a strategy, like based on your
Is it a
blood type.
gimmicky thing
These,
to make
yeah,
money?
these are the
Should I
the
Google
foods
it?
that will help. Yeah, I think it's something like that. But
I've
really,
heard of
honestly, it just goes down to the whole calorie deficit. It's just another iteration of a calorie
Yeah.
deficit.
and it's just kind of like a way of positioning the diet.
LOL was a
is-
good response to that.
Yeah. And it's like, how can you do something that, like,
The first thing that pops up, does blood type diet really work?
Yeah. Okay. What
There's
is
your
okay?
sign,
Look up what
Google.
is blood type diet.
It's
Educate us.
Okay, so I didn't type that in.
I just think like, if you're doing something specific like that, like, how would your coach not know if they're using the word blood type? Wouldn't you like
Yeah, that's
No,
do
your
a
you-
blood
fault.
test
Yeah.
and get your blood
If
type?
you didn't give
like,
your coach
before
your
the-
blood type, I wouldn't be following that diet.
yeah, I'd be like, no.
So
You look like an AB.
this person,
You just look like an O positive.
this person,
Definitely negative.
Dianimo, claims that blood types evolved from different societies so that each have an optimal diet. Type A is known as Argian, thrives on
I've
mostly
heard of this.
vegetarian.
Okay.
Type B is known as nomadic, thrives on high dairy. AB is known as enigma, thrives in mixture.
Like that's
Calories out, and kind of there is.
yeah.
Then there's cleaning up your diet a little bit. It's not eating
Mhm.
typically processed foods. It's full of a bunch of stuff.
yeah,
Um,
and your macronutrients.
your macronutrients. It's like you pick to like one ingredient source kind of foods, like your proteins, potatoes,
Mhm.
rice cakes, like things that are simple. That's kind of what a typical bodybuilding diet kind of looks
Yeah.
like. Vegetables, some fruits, but like
Mhm.
whole foods.
Yeah, and from growing up with a dietitian as a mom, I like that is a large part of what she looked at in terms of like Canada's Health Food Guide and making sure that we understood like how to portion. I remember like our plates used to be like sectioned into 3. Those like those
Yeah,
sectioned little
yeah.
baby
Yeah,
plates.
teaching you.
Yeah, this teaching
That's
us how to
cool.
portion. Yeah, teaching us how to portion
Colors.
food, so we'd know like this much and then she'd let us like take out our food and this much vegetables, this much
That's
protein.
cool.
But I always remembered that I have to have like, and I didn't realize that this was like some like wealth of knowledge that my mom had like trained me on. But like when I grew up and in college and stuff, I would always think, okay, so like I need like a carb source, of veg, and a protein, like even before I started any sort of training. And so I think just making sure that those things come first, like the real basics,
Fundamental,
the
like,
fundamentals
yeah,
of
health.
nutrients, and
And
nutrition.
It always cracks me up when someone outside of the bodybuilding world asks me if that's all I eat is boiled chicken. I'm like, why would I eat boiled chicken?
Ugh. I don't know the last time I ate boiled chicken.
I don't.
So
I
dumb.
grill mine on the barbecue.
Yeah.
I honestly
Exactly.
don't
Like-
eat anything that I don't like.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
Like, I
if
don't
it's-
like shrimp.
I don't eat anything I
it's
don't
a
like.
great protein source, but I
Fun
don't like
fact-
shellfish.
Fun
I don't
fact,
like
it's the
tilapia and
highest
cod.
protein
I don't,
source.
Really?
I don't eat
Shrimp?
it.
Shrimp is the highest
Seafood?
contains the highest amino acid content.
I eat shrimp.
I just
Yeah.
I just
But-
can't do shellfish.
Yeah.
I have tried so many times.
I
have
can't do
tried even
tilapia, so-
tempura shrimp, and I can like get it down.
Ooh, I can
but
eat some fried
there's
shrimp.
there's
love
no
seafood.
there's no liking.
I love seafood.
All right, on to
Okay.
the next. This is a simple and easy one. Coach telling me in a message that they just don't know what to do.
They just don't
I
want to
do like a coach who's honest, though. At
Yeah.
least they're not lying to you and making something up.
That's fair.
Man, I wish I had more of that in the past. And so now, however,
The
they
cackle.
should
The cackle.
they should be able to say, I'm going to go look into why. I'm going to
Yeah,
go
the
find this
follow-up.
answer for you.
Yeah.
There should be a follow-up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, not just I don't know.
Not just I don't know.
If it's
Crickets.
that, then we're like,
Because that would lead me to, well, then I'm going to go start researching a coach that does.
Yeah.
But I appreciate someone who does say, hey, I don't know this. This is not my expertise, but let's go find out
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
full agree.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if there's follow up and they're like, well, let me get back to you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something I do even in my regular job. Like if
I was
someone
about
asks
to
me
say,
a
yeah.
question and I don't know the
Yeah,
answer,
just
I'll
life.
tell them
Yeah.
I
Just
will go
life.
find the answer.
This is actually life advice.
Yeah,
Not
life
just-
hack. Just
yeah.
don't act like you know
Yeah,
everything.
don't
But
act
if,
like you know
if they
everything.
leave you on red, leave you on I don't know, then maybe that's a red flag. Coach red flag.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
On to the next. I have hyperdryosis, excessive sweating in my feet, armpits, and hands. When I competed, my tan looked like the set of a horror movie. If people bled brown.
Oh my god.
It was dripping down my arms because I was sweating so badly. I was terrified I was going to leave huge handprints on my thighs.
Oh,
That's
That's-
terrible.
yeah,
Follow
That's
Kaylia's
terrible.
regimen.
That's not a fun experience on
No.
stage on show day.
no.
I
It's
think
like-
if you had that kind of, I am thinking that was probably something that you had prior to bodybuilding.
if you know if you
Definitely your
have
physician.
condition like hyperhidrosis
Yes.
specifically.
Definitely talk to your physician about it. I think there's systemic drugs that you can take that help with that. There's also topicals that you can apply to maybe certain sensitive parts of the body as well. But that is definitely a physician question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something to maybe practice managing in a situation. If it's something, a condition you have, like practice managing it with a physician, your coach, and things like that. Because there could be medications or even like something as simple as even like your electrolyte water balance, something that's throwing it off specifically for stage day. Maybe you do a mock peak week where you and your coach practice like exactly how you're going to do all
That's a
of
great
that.
idea.
And maybe even do a practice tan with those protocols and and then maybe you'll be more confident in what's going to happen, or you guys
Yeah.
can change something to make that experience a little better. I think that's a management in advance type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Next one. 3 hours of fasted cardio. Had to be on the Stairmaster.
Oh, ouch. I've been at 3 hours.
It's the name of the game.
But I think the most
Just kidding. I don't know the game.
very, very temporarily, but like 2 hours has been a lot.
I've never
I've never gone over 2.
I've
Two's
I've only
been
ever
the
had
most.
2, and it was this prep was the first time, and honestly, I can probably count on 2 handfuls of days that I actually had to do it to just do that extra push.
Mm-hmm.
It was for me. It was just mine was this high incline walking, not stairmaster, and it was like 2-3 days of 2 car hours, and then we recovered, and then high, and then we recovered.
Sometimes there's a purpose for
Yeah.
long cardio. 3 is a little extreme.
Yeah, I'd be
Most
asking
time
my
I've seen
coach.
2 hours as the extreme, but like
And also sometimes you gotta stairmaster. That's where I get the
yeah.
because sometimes like if it's on a treadmill, sometimes it's just like steps. They're just trying to get you to move more.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it sounds scary because maybe you're on the treadmill for 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, but if you have a
hours
sedentary job, and usually
Yes.
from your job you would get an hour of steps, which is about
Only-
is that 6,000?
Yeah, 6,000.
6,000 steps
Mhm.
about if you're doing like 1,000 every 10 minutes.
You
or
might
so.
need to be on the treadmill that much to
Yeah,
to
so if you're more sedentary, like
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe you used to work, and now it's like a work from home job or something
Yeah.
like that, and so that's where that extra hour is coming from. So I think talking to your coach about it, yes, it does sound extreme, especially on the stairmaster, like you said. I would just hope that it's not something where you're pushing or chasing conditioning, because
yeah.
sometimes that can just lead to a lot of disappointment because you're putting in so much effort and
Maybe
you're
you need
like,
to push
I
things
just
out.
wanna, yeah,
Maybe you need to
maybe
push
just
out
need
your
another
show. Like
show.
I personally, like for example, you have to look at things like this. Like I personally, in my day, cannot do that. Like
Yeah.
I can't spend 3. I just can't. It doesn't
Yeah.
work with my schedule.
Yeah.
So that means that we're pushing a show out. I'm obviously not ready.
Not ready.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna stick to my hour and a half cardio a day, maybe,
Mhm.
and it's just gonna take me a little longer to get to this show
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, and I'm
Um,
thinking about like once you do that show, if that's your like last push, what does it look like after
After.
your show? Like, is that
Yeah.
3 hours? Like, is that 2.5? Like, that's I don't know. I would want to map out before I
I
committed
think
to
there's
that.
more information needed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
more
and like
information.
how did you get there? Like, did
Yeah.
you guys work your way up to 3 hours, or was it just like all of a sudden 3
Oh,
hours?
I have something.
Mm,
How did you get there? So
Yeah.
this is where you got to reflect on yourself as an athlete.
Yes.
Have you been taking bites?
yes.
Are you not sticking to your meal plan, your
Mhm.
macros? Are you did you miss some cardio sessions throughout your
Mhm.
prep because of life or because you
Yeah.
I don't know,
Why did you
something-
fall behind?
Why did you fall behind? Was it
Yeah.
a you thing? Was it the coach not paying attention to a timeline?
Mhm.
You got to ask some more questions to decide. Is your
Mhm.
coach now trying to like chase
Yeah.
conditioning?
Be self-aware and just
Mhm.
be honest with yourself. Is it really worth that push? Like, is
Mhm.
this the end? Like, is this the
Yeah.
the last show ever?
And like when you started prep, your cardio, was it intentional? Were you like doing lots of minutes where your coach is like, let's say they're assigning you 45 minutes? Were you just doing 45 minutes at like a nice calm walk or like a slow stair stepper and your heart rate's not getting up? And so then they keep assigning more and more and more, and they're like, why is this person not getting leaner? Because they don't realize that you're not doing intentional cardio with a high heart rate. Like, how
Yeah.
fast are you going on the stairs? Because there's ways to go really slow for a long period of time.
You're
and
holding
not.
on.
Well, I had that. That's
You're-
so
yeah.
before my
That's why
last show.
we've-
That's before my last
Mhm.
show. We were trying to tighten up. We wanted to lose 4 pounds in between my show. I only lost 2, and then I wasn't really given a heart rate. But then that was a detail that finally we were like, okay, what's your heart rate? Like, what is your intensity in your cardio?
Yeah.
Oh, and I was more at the 115 instead of getting up to 130. So then he's like, okay, we need to get up to 130.
Mhm.
Let's increase the intensity in the cardio, not really the amount of time, but the intensity. And so that's why now with this prep going into this next show, I'm trying to be like you, make more intentional with my cardio because I'm trying not to get to the 2 hour plus hours.
That's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Like my last check-in, even though I didn't drop much weight, we didn't feel like the need to increase my cardio because I've been doing very
Yeah.
intentional, and I communicated with my coach like, this is my average heart rate
Yep.
for my cardio. This is the type of cardio I'm doing. This is the intensity I'm at. And he's like, okay, well, this needs to be a calorie adjustment. So it's like, I think there's a little bit more to the question on like, how did you get to 3 hours?
Yeah,
'Cause
and there's
that's
different types of cardio too, like HIIT versus
Yes.
LISS. I
lists
know
and miss.
it's
and-
not. Yeah, it's not always about getting your heart rate as high as you possibly can. Because I
Right.
know that I've also had Shane talk to me about having my heart rate too high when I'm walking, and so like I had to bring mine down. So I usually try to aim for, like you're saying, the 130s, 140s ish. But there is such a thing as doing too much.
Alrighty, last question. First prep was on macros and really wanted to maximize this. So I ate a lot of boxes of lettuce mixes until my GI caught on and I could not control my BM. Yes, I almost pooped myself.
Oh.
Wait, what? A lot of box ate a lot of.
So she tried to instead of eating calorie dense things, she tried to spread her
Oh, big
macros as far
volume.
as she could. Yeah, by eating like
lots of shredded
lots
lettuce.
of shredded lettuce and
Whoa.
stuff like that.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I
Mm.
think there is a really good benefit for tracking your macros in your prep, and being intentional with them is a good thing. And there are ways to add some volume, but balance, not overdoing
yeah.
the volume in ways that are going to have you struggle with like things like bowel movements or digestion, because digestion is important. Even if let's say you're in your improvement season eating a lot, or you're in your peak of prep and you're like at your lowest calories, both places and all in between, your digestion is extremely important.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at, do I choose something more calorie dense or something higher volume, you want to also take in consideration your overall digestion. I think that's one of my daily things I rate on my check-ins is, how is your digestion?
Yes.
Because if you're not digesting, you're not getting those nutrients. If you're not digesting, you're not going to be in an optimal fat loss.
And you don't feel good. You
good.
feel
Yeah,
like
you don't feel
crap.
good.
And the
You're
other
not gonna
thing,
feel
Like-
yeah, the other thing, well, so one thing is, let your coach know what you're eating. So I do macros.
Mhm.
I don't do meal plan. I do macros, but I will run by my coach what I'm eating. Like,
Mhm.
hey, these are my food choices and proteins, carbs, and vegetables. Probably going to look like this for the next few weeks. And
Yeah.
if I make changes, I just update and say, hey, this is what I'm eating. Do you think there's any concerns?
I've done the same. Yeah.
And I was eating a lot of red meat this prep prior, and it timed perfectly with my digestion just kind of stopping. We
Mhm.
changed out all the red meat I was eating, put leaner meats in, boom, everything kicked back in. It was
Mhm.
and so like just communicate with your coach. If they're not asking, I mean, I think they should be asking what foods you're eating, but communicate to them what you're eating, because your coach may all be able to call that and be like, whoa, that's way too much of this.
Yeah.
You know,
And
let's-
you're the first person as the athlete to know that something's up. And
Yeah.
so like just communicating that, like, yeah, like you're saying, like whether they ask or not, it's a little bit of, I think that's a little bit of athlete responsibility too, of just saying, hey, like, even if they say, you know, whatever you're bringing up, it's okay, then it's
Yeah.
okay. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? They say it's fine. Keep
Yep.
going.
It's very normal to talk about your digestion, your bowel movements,
Yeah.
peeing, periods. Like
Yeah.
these are all things that are very normal to
Mhm.
talk about with your coach.
Mhm.
They're all signs of health, and we're doing an extreme thing, an extreme sport, and so your coach needs to know these things in order to gauge whether, like, oh, we need to pull back, or nope, you're good to keep going. Like,
Mhm. And meal timing matters too with digestion. So to me, with that question, it sounds like you're eating like a lot of times a day. And so I think also just, you know, letting your coach know like how often you're eating, making sure that you're moving your body in between
Yeah.
some of these meals, because like that helps digestion. You can't just be sitting there thinking about your next meal, you know?
And I think you may be trying to pad your diet with stuff that's volume to maybe feel less hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things to remember is, in prep, you're going to be hungry.
Mhm.
And so at some point, you're just going to have to accept that and embrace that. Part of prep, you
Is
will be
being
hungry.
Yeah.
And the sooner you accept it, almost the easier it is. And there's other ways to combat hunger besides eating more.
Mm-hmm.
Flavored
Little
water.
things, flavored
Activities,
water,
Diet,
keep yourself
tea,
busy.
Yeah.
busyness, distractions,
Mm-hmm.
going for a walk, getting your water in,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, meal
Yeah.
timing.
I think we talked
planning
about this
it really
in
well.
another episode too, of sometimes people, when they get into the hard part of prep, their NEAT goes down quite significantly because
with
you're so
energy.
tired.
Mhm.
And so that's what I'm imagining when I'm thinking about this question, kind of.
Also, think about what's really important come showtime is your core control. And
Oh,
so,
I
the
know.
more voluminous that your meals are, you're going to have a harder time controlling your core. And it is very important. Vacuums are great, but if you can't maintain a tight core all day long, then you're going to have a hard time doing it nervous with adrenaline going on stage. So, if you
Mhm.
practice that constant core control in all day long, big voluminous meals are not going to help with that. So, if you're eating denser meals, that core is going to stay smaller. You're going to have a better time of bringing that core in, and it's only going to help you for on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think then it just comes down to kind of like the mentality of maybe you don't have as many bites eating a little bit more calorie dense foods, but you're gonna feel better long run. You're gonna
Just
look
chew
better
really
long
slow.
run.
I'm just kidding.
Chew slow, tiny
That's the
bites.
key.
What do some people do? Like what, those little baby spoons to eat their food? I don't
crazy.
do
Nothing.
that.
Nothing. I've got nothing.
I do it for my hot cereal because it's easier to scrape the bowl. I do it for a different
Yeah,
reason
right.
because I need every little grain of hot cereal
I still
that
need
gets
to try
stuck to
that
the
hot
bowl.
cereal still.
I know.
I do it
I'm-
because I like the texture.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tempting to want to have
Yeah.
the volume.
Don't get me wrong. I want to add some shredded lettuce to every meal, but
yeah.
And there's
just-
nothing wrong with shredded lettuce if you have a little bit.
yeah, a little
just
like pinch and
everything in moderation.
Yeah.
Like, don't go overboard on anything. Even don't go overboard on your water. Don't go overboard on pickles.
Yeah.
Don't
pickles.
go overboard on just like anything. Like
Mhm.
if you're going overboard on something, you know you are.
Your body will tell you.
Yeah.
It will tell you.
Yeah. So I think those are all of our submissions for the
scenarios.
day.
Those are good.
Yes,
Thank you guys.
thank you guys.
Those are awesome.
Some
Yeah.
interesting things to think about. I think we got deep on some topics and
Yeah.
Shared our opinions on
Dropping
this.
knowledge.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Dropping all the
Hopefully, someone took something away from some of these different scenarios. And, I think our take home point is just be very true to who you are and just make sure that you're very open and honest with your coach, because I think that gives you the best experience from the experiences that I have
Yep.
had.
Exactly.
And we've got some DMs from people who have let us know that they feel like they're just sitting here chatting with their besties, and that's exactly
Awesome.
what this podcast
so
is
glad.
for.
Love
So
the support.
thank you.
That's what we wanted.
Yes.
Thank you. So if
Yes.
you want us to keep going with that, keep continuing to follow us, subscribe to our YouTube and
Mhm.
Spotify.
Give us all your
Comments.
feedback.
Yes.
Yes, and let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
If this episode made you think of a scenario you had, we'd still love to hear from you. Just drop us a DM in our Instagram. It's usually the easiest way to reach us.
Mhm.
And
And we will talk about it.
yeah,
and we
and
could
we'll
do
be
a part
back
two.
for episode 6.
Woo.
Okay. Bye.
Peace.